And we should be live. Welcome everybody to not just another live stream repair, but a bit of another teardown on some new Apple hardware. We've got the new Apple TV 4K. This is the one with Wi-Fi and Ethernet. I was surprised myself to find out that not only did they release a new Apple TV, but you have to pay extra for the one with Ethernet. Not just that, but if you want the new Thread support that comes with the new Apple TV, then you need to buy the more expensive version of the Apple TV with the Ethernet. So, I thought we would go ahead and open this up, tear it down really quick since I haven't seen anybody else put up any teardown of this one yet. And just like that. So after that, we will take care of 6 HomePods that need to get repaired here today. So here is our previous generation Apple TV 4K. I believe this one is actually a little thinner, and I actually still have the plastic on mine, so we'll just take that off. And I won't be taking this apart, obviously, because there's plenty of teardowns and documentation on the insides of these generation. But here's also that Apple remote from that one as well, and it has the lightning charge connector on the bottom there. I will only be tearing down the Apple TV here. I won't be tearing down the remote, since it's safe to assume the remote is going to be identical except for the charge port. When I do, I will be buying a separate remote to tear that down in a separate video. So subscribe and keep an eye out for that. Let's go ahead, open this up. And there we go. There's our new unit. Here's our old unit for comparison. It's more of a soft black. It's a matte black now, all around. Oh, hold on. Looks like they actually have, there we go. Okay. So yeah, same finish all around, just essentially smaller all around too. No ports for cooling or anything. It looks to be entirely passive now. Scratches at a level 0 with deeper grooves at a level 1. That was my fingernail that put that there. Actually, that might just be my fingernail rubbing off on that, but we all know plastic scratches very easily, so who's surprised? What else do we have in the box? I won't be focusing too much on unboxing the rest of this because this isn't an unboxing, this is a teardown of this thing, but I am curious. Yep, that is exactly the same remote, with a new port on the bottom there. When I get my hands on another one of these and tear it down, I am curious if it's exactly identical to the previous generation and it's just a different port. Yeah. This is my case for my remote. It's got a little AirTag thing built into it there so you don't lose it. Let's pop that in there. Very nice. And here I bet is the power cable, which I'll just keep in there. I won't use that. And some documentation. And that's it. Yeah, you could. Yeah. Alright. Let's put all that to the side, and I am guessing this will probably come apart similar to the previous generations. I'm honestly not too worried about preserving the cosmetic condition of this, or honestly really breaking it and not having it working for that matter. The one that I've got works just fine. But we are curious, and so are others. People have asked us to see the inside of this, so let's do it. Okay, I'm gonna look up a quick guide on how to take apart the last gen. That might give us a clue before we catastrophically damage anything. I do want to avoid that and use this, but let's see, Apple TV 4K disassembly. It'll probably take me to iFixit. Well, there you go. So, you start by doing pretty much exactly what we did. Okay, yeah, it's just you just pry at it. You just go for it, man. That looks to be the case. All right. I think we just overcomplicated that. That looks to open up actually relatively easy if you use the right tool here. Hey you, I managed to repair 3 HomePods today. I accidentally bumped the mini transistor besides the Schottky diode. Had to redo it. Anyways, got a mini with no power. The only idea I have is trying to plug it into a computer via USB-C. If it doesn't show up in recovery mode and let you restore there, crack it open and see if you can find any obvious shorts. That's really my best guess, because I've got a no power mini that somebody sent in that we haven't figured out ourselves either. Alright, as expected, T6 Torx screws here. We're just going to start taking screws out that we see. I want control over my focus. Come on. Is Christopher here? Are you in the chat, fella? Just curious. Want to make sure you get to see the good stuff live. Here's our power supply. We'll set that to the side and crack it open in a minute. And here's the... oh no. Are we going to be able to get that massive shield off? This is going to be fun. Oh, no, we don't have to. Oh, yes. It's just taped over. It's exposed underneath. Let's get this out. I was honestly going to try to take that shield off. And I was fully accepting for a second there that I was probably going to break it in the process. But, hey, we attempted the same thing on the second-gen HomePod that we tore apart for the second time. If you missed that live stream, go check out my live stream tab on my YouTube channel. But after our first look at the inside of the new generation HomePod, we took it apart again, and we removed the heat or the metal shields covering a lot of the other chips that we didn't get around to the first time, and we found model numbers on all of those chips, and I noticed that the amp chip that they use for the bass speaker in the new HomePod is a monster. Like we're talking like 10 times stronger than the amp that was used in the previous generation HomePod. So I think that would explain why the bass in the new generation maybe doesn't feel straight up more powerful, but it's more controlled. So more power doesn't necessarily mean louder. It could mean that you've got more control over that bass, which I think is what people are hearing. Okay, so we've got a connector here. We just unplugged that. That looks like it goes to the front for the IR. And there we go. Ooh, that is beautiful. So there is this is how it cools itself now. Interesting. So I think on the previous generation there was a fan, and if I'm not mistaken, the heatsink was part of the fan, and it was cooling the components through the bottom. On this new generation, it looks like they've got a passive heatsink that cools it through the top. Let's clean these chips off and get a closer look at what they have to say. I'm going to try to save the thermal paste. reuse as much of it as I can here. That should be sufficient. Oh yeah. Here we go, folks. Up first is the star of the show, our A15 CPU. And then we've got a couple of radio modules here. And don't worry, if you can't read the numbers on this, I will go over these chips again with the super lens. Just going to get a quick overview of this board here for you guys. And perhaps if you can already read it, then there you go. Okay. Let's peel off the sticker on this side here, get a quick overview look of that, and then we'll get a close-up look of everything. And then we will take apart the power supply. Nice. That came off really easy, so we'll be able to reuse that. I was expecting to just kind of have to wing it on there and let it be naked. Here we go. Is that a hole in this brand new chip? Or just a pin 1 identifier? Oh, that's a logo. There you go. Okay, let's get real close here. Where is my fantastic lens? Here we go. I got this for free with something, and it's ended up being the most useful, like, cheap gadget that I never thought I'd ever want or need to use. I'm not really into, like, cheap gadgets and that kind of thing, but this ended up being very useful. Okay, I'm gonna go to video mode. I'm gonna turn on my flash. And starting from that chip next to the CPU on the left-hand side, And that's not a fun photo. And you can't see it. Okay, I'm just going to read the numbers off on these chips because the camera's not able to see with the lighting the way that it is in this room. Unless I turn my brightness up on the screen, that'll probably help. Maybe turn it down. Up. Yeah. Nope, go back. Yeah, there you go. Okay, so that was the chip to the left of the CPU. And then here's the A15. And then here's the first the first radio module. Here's the other one, which is incredibly difficult to see. I can't read that, so if you can, then more power to you. And then here's there's a chip under the Wi-Fi radio, or sorry, I keep calling it a Wi-Fi radio. It's some sort of radio. I don't know if it's for Wi-Fi or not. But this chip says it's a Parade brand. What else do we have on here? That might be it on this side. Just about. So here's a bit of writing on the board itself. The board part number 820-02520-A. Okay. Let's take a look at the other side. There's a little crystal there. And a little more text on the board here. I think that'll do it for the main board. Let's crack open the power supply really quick, and then we'll put it back together and fix some HomePods. Here's our power supply. This should be a piece of cake. There we go. Beautiful and simple. Let's get this other half off carefully. We don't want to frickin' zap ourselves here. There we go. Starting from the top left of the board, we're just going to do a quick overview of both sides and then up close of any chips. Output 4.3 volts, 1.21 amps. Input 100 to 240 volts, so it is a switching power supply. Made by Solemn. I believe that's the same manufacturer as the power supply for the new generation HomePods. Let's flip this around. I don't even see anything that would warrant us getting the super duper zoom camera up here, so feast your eyes. We've got our familiar friend there, the Schottky barrier diode. And that is it. Unless anybody has anything else they want to see in this new Apple TV, we will go ahead and start reassembling it and then move on to our repairs for today. Let's see. I believe these first 4 screws were in the middle. Hey, Chandra, glad you could make it. After hearing myself pronounce your name out loud, I'm certain that is incorrect. I apologize. But if you've been watching enough of our live streams, you know we love to butcher names. We've gotten our fair share of name being butchered growing up. Hey, Rich, glad you could make it. Like Chandra? Or hey, Tony. Man, we're having a party here. Let me go grab something to drink. Okay, we've got the best room temperature Kirkland cold ones at room temperature. Okay, so to put this back together, we've got the 4 short screws on the inner part of the logic board in there holding the main board into place, and then we reconnected the cable there for the front IR sensor. And here's our power supply. We will drop that down. Before we do that, I just want to first of all let that out. Wow. Second of all, excuse me. Third of all, I want to make a quick observation here that there's no wires connecting the power supply to the main board. I believe they are using the screws going into the board as the connection to feed it. Much like how the first generation HomePod's amplifier screws into its tweeter speakers for its connection. Interesting. Of course, I don't think this is the first time they've done this, neither here nor in the HomePod. I feel like I've seen it before, maybe even in the Airport Express V2. I've taken a few of those apart before. I took an Airport Express V2 apart and stuffed the guts of it into an Apple Hi-Fi speaker to give it native AirPlay 2 functionality. I actually have, I think, a YouTube short on my channel, and I've been needing to get around to putting out a proper video of that, of how to do that for others. But anybody who's really motivated enough and is actually going to go through and do that can easily figure out, based on my video, what wires you connect to in the power supply of the Hi-Fi to power your airport. And the fact that you just simply plug the aux cable to the airport into your Hi-Fi, or you can solder some extra wires to it so you can still use the rear auxiliary port if you want to, but so there's 2 silver screws, two long silver screws. Those are going to go together in the power supply, and then we've got 3 more long black screws that go in each corner for the power supply. We've only encountered T6 Torx screws throughout this entire teardown as well. I love to see it. We've got this one teeny tiny little short screw that's going to go under the little Apple logo here on the main board. And then 2 more medium-sized screws. Those are going to go in to hold the AC connector into place onto the board. Last but not least, we've got our bottom case. Let's think about if it even matters which orientation we put this. Doesn't look like it. Well, let's just snap it in there. And there you go. before we move on to our HomePod repairs for the evening, feel free to leave a like if you enjoy seeing this type of content where we get our hands on new hardware and do a quick teardown and take a close look at what makes these things tick before anybody else. I'm actually quite surprised that at this point we were not only the first for the new HomePod, but the first for this as well. Perhaps, you know, these just aren't as popular, so there's obviously less demand for it, but I'm excited to be the first nonetheless. And one other thing, if you are interested in a free HomePod, first generation, subscribe. When I hit 1,000 subscribers, I'll be giving away a custom first generation Apple HomePod. You actually get two choices. You can choose between this red that we've already made up and ready to go. It's got the red mesh, the red top, and the red, I'd call it more of like a salmon pinkish color cable. Or you can pick any color from Ritz Dye More for Synthetic line. Not the all-purpose, but any of the Dye More synthetic RIT colors. We can color up a white HomePod and give it away for you. So 1,000 subs, we will be doing that. So keep an eye out. I am very excited to do that. And goodness, have we really approached that target a lot quicker than I originally anticipated. So, what have we got on deck today? Taking a peek at the description and updating the text on our screen here. First up, we've got Richard with no power. Ah, yes, a classic. No power. We've had hundreds of these come in for that now. After Richards with no power, we've got Kelvin. I like the name Kelvin. With no base. You don't hear many people named Kelvin. I think the only other person I've heard named Kelvin is... Oh, actually, I don't think I've ever heard anybody named Kelvin. After that, we've got Chandra with no power. And then we've got Chris also with no power. Michael with no power. Ben with no power. And I forgot to mention, but Kelvin has no base. So pretty much we've got all straight no power tonight with an essence of no base. So let us locate Richard. Where are you? Here you are. Okay. Thank you for the sub, Stan, and welcome to the stream. Welcome to another repair. Welcome to the chat. Enjoy your stay. We got through the Apple TV a little quicker than I expected. Make sure my camera is all lined up and focused. First things first, we will check our symptoms with a known good power cable. I will now lick it to demonstrate that the cable is in fact functional and live. Just kidding, it's not actually plugged in right now. There we go, it is now plugged in. Let us supply power. Give it a nice little pat. Hit It's okay, little guy. It's not okay. He's got no response. And yet, he pulls 4 to 6 watts of power from the wall. Why is that? Well, the power supply is good, and there isn't a blown fuse because it's pulling power. If there was a fuse blown, then we would see no power draw because the circuit wouldn't be able to complete, so there's no way for power to flow, no power draw. So we see power draw, but it's not doing power things. What could be wrong? Well, it is the most common thing that goes wrong with these, which is what appears to be a bad batch of these diodes that they use on the amplifier. And they seem to work fine at first, and then one day they will just spontaneously short out and fail. And even though they are on the amplifier, because the logic board gets its power from the amplifier, when the amp stops working, the logic board's going to stop working. And when the logic board stops working, the display stops working. So nothing happens when you plug it into power, yet you've got your power draw. Nice thing about this failure in particular, that screw is stripped. As I was saying, the nice thing about this particular failure is that you don't really need to worry about opening yours up before it happens and fixing it to prevent any damage. When it happens, that little diode's the only thing that fails, and it stops it from turning on. So, not really something to worry about. When it happens, it happens. And you'll deal with it when the time comes. It's also not possible to tell without opening it if you have one of these faulty diodes or not, because the only way to tell is by a date code on the diode itself. And we've only seen diodes with date codes between 1746K and 1748K failing. For those curious, the date code translates to the first 2 digits being the year and the second 2 digits being the week of the year. So 2017 was the year, and week 46 and week 48 were when these bad batches of diodes were manufactured. And we know almost beyond a doubt by now, after seeing how many that we've had come in, it's still really hard to say that correlation isn't always causation, but in this case, it's hard to say that it's not a bad batch of these diodes, because we continue to see only those diodes with that date code failing, whereas sure, we get HomePods in all the time for other repairs or for other issues that power on just fine. Their diodes are still working just fine. But in that case, those diodes have either older or newer date codes. And you'd figure if these diodes were inadequate, then we would be seeing date codes across the board failing, but that's not the case. Now, one simple explanation, which is still kind of hard to believe, but still possible, to why we're seeing only those date codes failing, could simply just be that they had, like, let's say that whoever manufactured the HomePods for Apple purchased a bulk amount of diodes from Diodes Incorporated. That's who manufactured these diodes. And when they purchased that bulk order, they got batches from all date ranges. So and maybe they got way more of these 1746 and 1748K diodes that were bad than these other date codes. So maybe we just only see those ones failing just out of pure numbers that are or aren't out there. But I still doubt it. I mean, at this point, we've got 100 or so diodes that don't have that date code that have been working just fine. And we've got about 400 or so dead diodes with that date code. So that's a hell of a ratio if it's just a coincidence. I get this question asked all the time, so I'll go ahead and preemptively answer it now. This is the Miniware ES15 electric screwdriver. It's got the torque to take them out and put them back in, and it's got the haste to do it faster than I can. And back when I was only doing a few a day, not much of a difference, no big deal. But now, you know, we're getting anywhere on average from 5 to 10 or more a day. So, being able to get a HomePod repaired in 20 to 30 minutes as opposed to 30 to 45 minutes can really add up. And not to mention the wear and tear on your hands. This one is coming out really easy. I appreciate the break. I said something. I jinxed myself. Nice! How did I get into this? Well, it started when I bought my first HomePod for myself. Brand new from Best Buy for Christmas. And I actually take a step back. This actually started when my boss at my day job showed up one day with his HomePod. And I heard it for the first time. And I was like, there is no way that something that sounds like that is coming from that. So I bought one. And I really liked it. So I bought another one. And after the second one, the wallet was hurting. Couldn't justify buying more of them, but I really liked the idea of being able to have a really easy to set up and great sounding multi-room audio experience. So I started looking into broken ones because, you know, I love buying broken things and fixing them for myself as a way to get my hands on something on the cheap. So I looked into broken HomePods. And sure enough, they were pretty cheap, anywhere from like $40 upwards of $100, but pretty cheap, all things considered. And especially for the time when they were still, they weren't discontinued yet. I think maybe they were. I can't remember. Anyways, I was looking into how I can get my hands on more HomePods to add to this experience that I was trying to build. Subwoofer checks out. And that's when I came across a video on YouTube from Electronics Repair School. It's titled "Fixing the Most Unfixable Apple Product Ever," or something like that. And it's an Apple HomePod that doesn't power on. So I watched it, and after a few hours, he managed to diagnose the problem being a shorted diode on the amplifier. The exact same problem that you see us repair on the daily here on the channel. And I thought to myself, there's all these HomePods up on eBay that won't power on. I wonder if they all have the same issue. So I bought a couple for myself, and it took me a few hours to get in to take my first one apart. It was very nerve-wracking. I beat the shit out of it, but I did it. I got it apart, and I didn't have a hot air gun. I only had a soldering iron, and I wasn't ready to spend the money on a hot air gun yet. So what I did was I took a knife and I stabbed the old diode off the board. Like, I literally broke the casing apart on the black casing on the diode and left only the bare copper pads left on the board. And then I used my soldering iron to solder a new diode on in place. And I plugged everything in to try to power it on, and sure enough, it powered right up. So I attempted the same thing a few more times on a few more broken HomePods I purchased. Success. Same problem every time. Same fix every time. Then I noticed there was another issue. There was this death farts issue that people were experiencing. But nobody knew how to fix that. So I won't take credit for discovering the shorted diode repair for no power. But basically every other issue, that's all me. I'm going to brag about it till I die. Death farts, essentially what I did was I did a whole bunch of research on DC offset, and found a blog post that explained that DC offset gets worse with heat. So I took a heat gun to the board with a multimeter connected to the subwoofer output, and watched and waited until I saw a certain area of the board react the most to the heat, i.e. the DC voltage spike. And that's when I found the area where those filtering capacitors are that we discovered go bad over time, allow DC offset through the amp, and cause death farts and damage the bass speaker. Since then, there's also a lot of other issues that we've just trial and errored to figure out. But yeah, once we gained a little bit of confidence in fixing these for ourselves, I actually felt like there was nobody else in the world offering a repair service for these, let alone really putting out any repair information on them. And I saw that as an opportunity to maybe start a little side business and make a bit of a name for myself, save a few electronics from the dump. And honestly, one of the most important reasons to me was getting to work with, honestly, my favorite product I've ever owned. And getting to help other people keep that same experience and enjoyment out of them. But yeah, once I proved to myself by stabbing the diode off the board and replacing it that this wasn't just a one-off, it was actually a common issue, I immediately hopped on Amazon and bought myself a hot air rework station. And I just browsed social media forums like Reddit and just replied to people complaining about their broken HomePod. Hey, if you want to cover shipping both ways, I'll fix it for you for free. Just on the idea of I may break something, it may take me a while, but I will get it fixed, and I'll learn a little bit along the way. And you get a free repair out of it just for the cost of shipping. So we did that a few dozen times. And then once we felt that our quality of work and we was up to par and we had a bit of a process, that's when we started actually charging for repairs. And here we are just about a year later, 400 or so HomePods fixed. Majority of those for the exact same no power issue. It's a real shame that Apple hasn't done anything about this, and there's absolutely no recognition or responsibility or accountability for any of this. What really rubbed me the wrong way, and what really pushed me to do this, was the fact that Apple offers nothing. They tell you that you can pay them damn near retail price for them to replace it with another one. And they're just going to dismantle the old one into its raw materials and recycle it. They don't even restore the software on them. They just dismantle them. It's sad. It's a waste of resources and money. It's a waste of everything. And it's so frustrating. And not just for myself, but for everybody that spends all this money on a premium product just for it to fail over a $1 part in a year or two. It's not right. And if I could live off of this, if I could do like HomePod repairs exclusively and like make a living off of that, I would be all on board. But unfortunately, I not only don't have the time to do this full time, but I don't think I could, like charge people a reasonable amount, because I don't know. It's one product, right? We specialize in a single product, and eventually that product's popularity is going to start dying off. So if I want to run a long-term business and not just like this short-term temporary thing, which I'm kind of honestly 50-50 on, but we'll see how things pan out. Then I gotta expand. I gotta get my hands on more things to fix. But I really like the things that people don't often fix, that you don't see people fixing very much of. That is one of the big things that got me into HomePod repairs. Nobody else was doing it. And it just seemed like such low-hanging fruit to just get good at it, build a website, start talking to people, and just start doing it. And here we are, and I love it. And everybody else loves it. Everybody's having a good time. Yeah, I would love to do this full time and for a living, but I would have to charge way too much, and I'm not doing that to people. I do want to charge enough to make it worth my time, and I don't get a stack of HomePods for the day and just feel like I absolutely dread it. At that point, I don't want to feel like I want to quit this. I want to make it worth my time, but I don't want to make it not worth somebody else's. How's that? I think that's a good way to put it. Thanks for coming to my TED Talk. And with the new HomePod, it's going to be the same thing. They're going to break themselves, and there's going to be no way to restore them. And unless the store finally grows a pair of nuts and Apple gives them a way to just simply remove the rubber foot from the bottom of the base, it's very easy. A kid could do it. You just take the bottom of it and you pull it off. And there's a whole bunch of pins on the bottom that you can just plug a little dongle into and restore the software. How hard is this? And I don't want to hear some Audio OS doesn't support it bullshit, because why can you plug a HomePod Mini into your computer and restore it? Why does a HomePod Mini have a recovery mode that allows you to restore the software on it by plugging it into your computer? Why can I solder a USB cable to the bottom of my OG HomePod and plug it into my computer, and it recognizes a HomePod. Make it make sense. That's my rant. Oh, what is the date code on the bad diode? I think it was 1746K. We would have to double check the replay. Let me grab it here. Yeah, it says 1746K. It is time. Will it power on or will it poof? I don't use any special solder. I just use whatever I've got kicking around, but currently we've got this Mayum rosin core solder that's 6337. But I honestly find that a decent flex helps more than spending extra money on better solder. For the flex, since you might ask, I use the ChipQuick NC191. That's the good stuff. So we're just putting this back together with our test parts now just to see if the amp turns on and if it's got any issues. This is their power supply in the middle here. This cable right here is what actually goes to the outside of the shell, and this is what you plug your AC cable into to provide power. And then this is the ribbon cable that we will connect our logic board to. Just like so. And this is a good logic board that's factory reset with a display. And then we've got a subwoofer here that is connected to our multimeter over here. So we can not only check that this powers on and that it produces sound, but that we can check and see what its current DC offset is. All right, we've got power. That sounded good. And we've only got 2 millivolts of offset. So, this looks fantastic. It sounds fantastic, and it is ready to get put back together. Let's take our test parts off. And I asked this a lot too. The screws do provide grounding. It's not necessary grounding. It's more just kind of redundant grounding. But I put the screws in there to keep the power supply from popping out while we're testing. That's a big no-no. You don't want to be crossing any wires on this connector in here or damaging it right when you got it fixed and you're checking your work. Don't ask me how I know. Don't ask me. 'Cause I'll tell you. I don't know. I didn't do that before. Wasn't me. That Shaggy song wasn't me. Alright, amplifier is secured. Reconnect that ribbon cable to there. Lock it down. Drop in our power supply. Make sure it's nice and lined up before we push it down to lock that connector underneath. And then we'll plug in the AC connector. Screw it down. Is your day job in electronics engineering as well, or did you just figure this all out on your own? Everything I know is entirely self-taught. That goes for everything at my day job to everything you see us do here. Pretty much, if you can find it on the internet, I will find it and teach it to myself. That was one of my favorite aspects of the interview process when I worked at Nintendo for phone support. They allowed you during the interview test part to just simply Google, use Google for anything you needed to, which is freaking awesome. It's like a teacher allowing you to use a calculator on a math test. It's like, yes, we do usually carry calculators in our pockets now. And yes, we do usually carry Google around in our pockets now. So it is reasonable to allow people to use these tools, especially if it enhances their job. I love it. That job only lasted for a week. So what ended up happening was they hired a massive amount of people. And I should say this, it wasn't Nintendo Direct. It was contractors through Nintendo. So they ended up hiring a whole buttload of phone support in anticipation of the Wii U selling like hotcakes for the holidays. So I, myself, and a few of my friends were part of that hiring spurt. And I think it was 4 weeks of training that we went through, which was awesome. And getting to work on Nintendo campus and just that whole experience was awesome. But then after the 4 weeks of training, we went onto the live floor, and we took calls for around about a week before they laid off. Like, I can't even remember, but they laid me off. They laid off all of my friends but one guy. They ended up overhiring way too many people because the Wii U ended up being kind of a flop. But those 5 weeks that I was there, easily one of the coolest jobs I've had. Which is easy for me to say. I haven't really had a whole lot of jobs. Anyways, back to the actual question. I am not an electronics engineer as my day job. I have entirely self-taught myself all of that. Rather, I am what they call me at my day job, a sales engineer. Define that as you will, but essentially what I do is I assist the sales team themselves with anything that they really need help with, be it setting up demos for our company's software, helping integrate new hardware from a potential partner, and pretty much technical issues and anything in between. And I've been there for about 10 years now. Here's our logic board, mid-frame, and then we will button up the drawstring for our mesh. I will no longer take this part for granted because the new generation HomePod's drawstrings do not wrap around a frame and posts for you to undo and loosen. Instead, when you take it apart, they tied the ends of the drawstring together and cut the slack off, so you basically have no choice but to undo the knot or somehow attach extra length of drawstring to the end of it. Good luck with that. If you don't manage to do all that, as soon as you undo that knot, the drawstring is going to come loose and it's going to pull through the mesh, and you're going to have to find a longer drawstring to fish back through it because it's just simply too short. They really did us dirty. But you can work around it. Just simply screw the base of the HomePod back on loosely and stuff the mesh back into it all around, and then tighten the base back up. You're good to go. No one would be able to tell. You don't believe me? Take a look at the end of our first and second teardown live stream of that new HomePod. I think we got it back together perfectly. This channel reminds me of how much I enjoyed early YouTube, and I love it. That is kind of like the vibe I like and go for is I don't want to put a whole bunch of effort into a whole lot of fluff and clickbait, and like I already throw up in my mouth a little bit asking people to subscribe and like every time as it is. I'm probably going to knock that shit off. But because like if somebody's going to want to like or subscribe, I genuinely feel like asking them to do it is not going to get someone who's genuinely interested in sticking around from sticking around. If they really are interested, then they're going to do it of their own volition. At least that's how I work. But I miss a lot of the old YouTube. I wouldn't say it was low effort, but it was in a lot of ways simpler. So you could focus on just more of the actual content at hand and not all this extra crap tacked onto it. It's like that vlogger kind of like lifestyle, in that way that they talk to their camera. It just, I think I tried here and there on the channel, but it just nah, no thanks. I'll just do my own thing. Hey, there goes YouTube censoring the dumbest comments. I wish it censored the spam bots. I have taken apart the 2nd gen HomePod. I've got 3 live streams on my channel doing it, actually. Take a look sometime. First time we just took it apart, took a gander all around. Second time we took it apart and took a deeper look at some of the model numbers of the chips on board. We put it back together during that second stream and lost our sound. It stopped producing any sound. So we had a third live stream with it, and we managed to get it fixed. Turned out that we just didn't reconnect a ribbon cable to the amplifier all the way, which was a pretty huge relief. I thought I had broken something, removing one of the EMF shields. Ooh, I appreciate the share on Facebook. I gotta count on you guys for that, because I won't touch Facebook. Not anymore. I'll touch pretty much any other social media than Facebook and Tumblr. No offense to people that use Facebook or Tumblr, they're totally fine social media platforms, but they're not my thing. Kind of miss using Facebook, actually. But I just stopped using it, and scrolling just became less and less of what it was and what it is now. What do we got?
I'm having trouble connecting to the internet.
Very good. Aren't we all? All right. She checks all out. Richard is good to go. with Richard taken care of, let us see who is next. It is Kelvin with no bass. So we are jumping right into a slightly less common repair. Let's reset that, reset this, reset that, and here is Kelvin. What will we find wrong with Kelvin's HomePod today? Ugh. We shall first, of course, as always, check our symptoms with a known good power cable. Not that it matters for this issue, but it does matter, but it doesn't. What do we got?
I'm having trouble connecting to the internet. For more info.
Yeah, I mean, who's surprised? Let's get this taken apart, find out what's going on. Do we have a blown bass speaker as a result of bad filters on the amp that allowed DC through, roasting the subwoofer over time? Do we have an other unknown issue with the amp and the bass speaker is totally fine? We shall find out. I don't think I have the parts. I don't think I have either an amp or a bass speaker to repair this here and now. I'll need to break down some more HomePods for parts. You know the drill. But we will be able to figure out why this has failed and what it needs. Do I use my HomePods for home audio setup? Oh yes, I do. I've got a few dozen in the living room, or I've got about a dozen in the living room. I've got about a dozen in my office room, and then I've got at least one in every other room of the house, or common area. And I pretty much exclusively use them for listening to music, in conjunction with my AV receiver for my living room home theater setup. That has AirPlay capabilities, so. I don't have much experience with the Sonos stuff. My only experience with Sonos is anything that they sold at IKEA, and I actually have the Sonos IKEA lamp. I actually had that before I ever got my first HomePod, and it always kind of like it's good, it's okay, but it never made me want to just sit down and use it to listen to music. I never ended up using it to listen to music. It still goes unused for anything other than a lamp today. It's nice that it supports AirPlay as well. But none of the Sonos stuff really tickled my fancy because none of it seems to have the same... Like, they don't have a product that directly competes with the HomePod. And by that I mean omnidirectional sound, high-performance subwoofer, multi-room audio, which they've got the multi-room audio down, but I don't think they have anything else that compares to the performance that the HomePod has and what it can do. I don't think that the lamp constrains the design at all, because in theory, you could just stick a lamp to the top of a HomePod and boom, you've got a HomePod that's a lamp. And the HomePod and the Sonos lamp speaker are virtually identical in size. Dare I say the Sonos lamp was maybe a little bigger. I'd have to look. Also, the fact that, like, to use the Sonos stuff, I had to sign up for an account and, like, set up through this, like, janky app. It was a pain in the ass to set the Sonos up, and it just never impressed me. So I just never really used it. Even if it has AirPlay support after I set it up, it was such a pain in the ass. I hate having to download an app to set something up, and I hate even more that app requires you to sign up for an account. It's another password for me to forget, and I'm not using any damn password manager, you damn kids. That one went for a walk. This takes me back to the Red Ring of Death Xbox 360 era. Oh yeah, not in terms of just the failure rate, but like how you open these. Like if it doesn't sound horrendous opening this part of the disassembly process, you're doing something wrong. Bass speaker seems fine actually, so I'm gonna guess that we've got an amp issue here. Oh, the creaking plastic is what did it. Hell yeah. Hate Siri as much as you want as just a pure audio speaker, and just plugging it in and putting it down somewhere and setting up a whole bunch of them in your house and just having like that Oh man, you have to experience it to really know. Subwoofer speaker seems fine. And I don't see any obvious damage to the amplifier. So we've probably got a mystery issue with the amp. And for that, we will want to pull another amplifier for parts before we continue this. So we're going to put their parts away for now and move on to the next repair. We should be able to pull extra parts tonight or tomorrow for them. Let's see. There we go. Let's just get all this cleaned up. Hey Anthony, I think I saw your email on that. I don't think I've had a chance to reply or say thank you for the tip yet. But you're talking about, are you talking about the plastic top to the display? Or are you talking about, hold on. Are you talking about plastic top to display? Or are you talking about display to frame? I'm going to have to try dropping a few drops on there. I don't have a dropper for my rubbing alcohol. That's my problem. I need to find something for that. Okay, so Kelvin, I don't know if that's you in the chat there, but if it is, don't sweat it. The repair cost isn't going to change if we can't fix your amplifier. All that matters is your bass speaker here is still good. And that means that we can reuse it, and we can either, more than likely, we're going to just replace your amplifier with another one. The repair estimate that I gave you is still going to be the same. So don't worry about that. It's just going to take us an extra day to get the parts that we need to do that for you. So, if you don't hear from me tonight, then I will shoot you an update again tomorrow. And if we don't fix it up on stream tomorrow, then I'll have already had it fixed up, and you'll hear from me, and we'll have it already shipped out and on the way back to you. So, for now. Oh, the part that involves using a screwdriver. Really? Okay. I'm gonna have to try that. I need to get my hands on a dropper because right now for my rubbing alcohol, I just got this bottle, so I don't want to just like glug glug glug, you know. I bet you Prime's got something though, so let's see who's next for now. Oh yeah, we've got just straight up no power for the rest of the night. So it should be pretty smooth sailing from here. Let's see. Oh. Okay. So I believe they wanted us to switch this to black. Let me double check. Because they were curious if we could clean it and if not, replace it. And after getting to see this in person, no, that is too far gone to try to wash up. But I am more than happy to replace it with a black one here. Just making sure that's what they wanted. Yes. So we're going to switch it all the way back to black. My HomePod gets crazy distortion or cutting out on sound over eARC. Isn't eARC still in beta? I feel like I hear a lot of people complaining about that issue with eARC, and I think it just keeps coming back to the fact that it's still beta. It might be an HDMI cable thing. Linus Tech Tips did a good video on, I think they tested a bunch of HDMI cables. So you can I would recommend watching that and perhaps picking up a cable or two that they recommend. Okay, so let's check our symptoms. Plugged into our known good power cable here. No response, and we only see 2 watts of power draw. Oh, nope, it went up to 4. So, it might be the diode. It might be an issue with the logic board. I'm not actually sure, but let's take this apart and find out. Anthony, when you apply the rubbing alcohol to the basket instead of what I do to pry it, are you applying the rubbing alcohol to the outside, or are you like applying it through the inside with like a dropper? I'm just curious. Through the inside. Okay. You know what? I really want to try that. So let me rinse out my other dropper bottle here. Take a quick break, folks. Grab a drink, grab a bathroom. We'll be right back. We are back. Alright, let's hope I don't spill that. I spill this every single time I do this. Before we go any further, since I suspect possibly a logic board issue, I want to go ahead and try a known good logic board on here. I'm really just curious based on that lower than usual power draw for this kind of failure. Yeah, it's a logic board issue. Okay, so in lieu of the time that I've got left tonight, I know I'm really hitting heavy on the skips tonight, but I am crunched on time. And these logic board repairs for no power tended to take up quite a bit of that time. Usually we can fix no power issues with the logic board, unlike the bricked blinking volume buttons. This is usually a straightforward repair, but it takes a while to find the short and replace it. So, if it's okay with you, I'm going to put yours to the side, try to fix through the rest of tonight's queue, and then I'm going to take another look at yours tomorrow morning along with Kelvin there. Kelvin's got that no bass, he needs a new amp, and I need to spend a bit of time with yours to figure it out. So, same thing with Kelvin though. This isn't going to change your repair estimate. It's going to be the same that I told you. We'll get your logic board working, and then we're still going to fully tear this down and replace the diode on your amplifier, even though our power issue is coming from the logic board, because we don't want another power issue from happening. Yeah. Well, we're not hitting the sweet spot today, but that's what tends to happen when you get so many of these things showing up at once. I hate it, but I gotta make time. I don't have all this time anymore. Let me make a note of theirs too really quick so we don't lose track. Oh yeah, no, I was going to put those screws in here. Boop, 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 boop. Boop, 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 boop. Okay. Sorry to disappoint, but I got to try to manage my time where I can, and I don't think I've got the time to spend an hour or two getting that working tonight. So we will take care of that one along with Kelvin's tomorrow morning. In the meantime, let's move on. We want to try to keep things going here tonight. We've got Chris also with no power. Let's take a look at theirs and see if that is of the more common variant. All right, another one. What's this one doing? Let's find out. No response. The typical 4 to 6 watts of power draw from the wall. This one is most likely what we normally see with that diode failing on the amplifier. Let's get it apart and find out. I am excited to try this rubbing alcohol tip that Anthony suggested us. Okay. Let's get some of that good stuff alcohol in here. And I suppose we just drip it along in there. If this works as well as you make it sound, I will definitely be giving you credit for this and adding it to my website. Because this is definitely a thing that I see a lot of people struggling with when taking their pod apart. Wow. Night and day difference. Oh my god, bro. It's like nothing. We're gonna have to try it a few more times to validate that this isn't just a fluke with this one being put together lazily, but that right there was easily the easiest time I have ever had pulling that basket off. And if it takes me an extra minute to goop it up and wipe it off, then that is a worthy trade-off to me. And you get a little cleaning. Wow. Can't believe how well that worked. Yeah, and the screws, we barely put any force on those. They are really straight. Nice tip. Well, that might be the first problem, is it might end up chewing this gasket up here. I probably used way too much. So we'll try to do a little less next time. Maybe this will dry out and be reusable. Ooh, interesting. Woofer check. Looks good, feels good, smells good. Always sniff your subs. Let's see. Okay, that makes sense. I'm a goober, so I just dump half the bottle in there and go. Here we are with a date code of 1746K yet again. And confirmed, diode is dead. We shall now replace it. I didn't think the rubbing alcohol would be so effective on an adhesive that was so solid and non-porous, but I am mistaken. Alright, we have applied fresh solder to our fresh diode. It's putting up a hell of a fight with our tweezers. There we go. There you go. That should be all this board needs. After a second of cooling down, we will put some parts onto this that'll let us power it on and give it a quick test that it produces sound and that it doesn't have any other issues. First up, the power supply. And then we will secure the power supply so it doesn't pop out. That would be bad. Here's the power cable that'll feed the power supply. Our 120 volts, 60 hertz alternating current provided by Puget Sound Energy. And then here's our ribbon cable that will connect to the logic board. That is what provides logic to the amplifier so it can think about itself. Yeah, I was pretty generous with my alcohol application there. Let's see if it powers on. We've got power. Keep an eye on the subwoofer there, and obviously keep your ears open. Once it finishes booting up, it should play the setup tone. And after the setup tone finishes playing and our meter settles down, we'll take a quick peek at our DC offset. So, that sounded good. Our offset is sitting chill at around 15, maybe 16, 14, 15 millivolts. Perfectly acceptable. This amplifier is ready to go. So we will take our test parts off, extract them, and then reassemble this pod. Ooh, we got a bunch of chat messages to catch up on. Let's see. Welcome, everybody. Welcome, welcome. Thank you all for dropping by. Stan, that sounds like some issue with the logic board. Unfortunately, I don't have much more of an idea than that. Probably along the same lines as the potential causes for the blinking volume buttons issue. Something's wrong with the CPU or the storage chip, or there's something wrong with the software, or there is something wrong with the solder joints for any of those chips. It could, in rare cases, it could be like an issue with the amplifier or the power supply, but I'd say like more than 9 out of 10 cases with boot loops, it's going to be an issue with the logic board. Sometimes also physical damage can cause issues like this. If there's a damaged cable for the display or the logic board, or even if the display itself is damaged, it may not look like it, but this PCB here is attached to this PCB, and if the HomePod is dropped on its head, it'll push down on the top here and start to separate this PCB. Which will cause issues. So I would suggest getting your hands on a full extra set of HomePod parts so that you can at least start swapping parts around and nail down where the failure is coming from, because right now there's too many potential pieces that could be causing that issue. Yeah, I'm just going to let that dry out. I'll grab another one. That screwdriver is the Miniware ES15. It was donated to us by a previous client. And it is my favorite tool on the bench. That is next to Big Bubba. But this one's quick and fast. This one's got the nuts. For those extra stubborn screws. Really? What's it got? It's got power. Here is the next repair from Michael. Is this one good?
I'm having trouble.
Don't raise your voice at me.
I'm having trouble.
Looks good. Let's put that away. Hit up our next pod from Michael, also with no power. And start off by checking our symptoms, of course. No response. Typical 4 to 6 watts of power draw from the wall. So likely the same shorted diode on the amp that we just fixed on the last one. Let's find out. Yeah, I'm not laying it on its side because my mat's really dirty and I don't want people's meshes getting all dirty. But I will give it a little tip. Alright, let's see how that works. I think I still used a little too much. Well, apparently not enough. Oh, it's still working. Oh, yeah. Oh, that just makes it sinfully easy. Looks like the previous gasket that we soaked has returned to normal size. Woofer check, looks good, feels good, smells good. Well, and like rubbing alcohol. Alright, this is a screw for Big Bubba. Let's go. You want to fuck around and find out? Well, guess who just found out? That broke. That broke right off. Excellent. We will be doing a screw extraction here. What kind of thread locker does Apple use to... That's ridiculous. At least it's in an easy spot. If it was like this one, or this one, or this one, we'd have these tall caps right next door to deal with. But we got lucky. Date code 1746K again. Confirmed. Dead diode. Let's replace. Okay. Repairs have been done. Give this a second to cool off, and we will see if it works. Oh yeah, no, we almost forgot that stuck screw on there. Here's how we're gonna do this. Step 1. Remove the old stud. Actually, I think we will just try to unscrew this. Yeah, it's coming. Okay, plan B. We're just gonna rip the stud out and replace it. There we go. Screwed stud be gone. And then we will grab a parts board. Steal a stud from there. Oh, well, that's not going to work very well. Let's try that again. It's a good thing it's a parts board. Here we go. So we just simply push that back in there. Or do we? I think I need to pull another one here, because the PCB keeps sticking to it. Just try it. There we go. That one came off clean. Perfect. Okay. Now we will confirm that this board is working, and then we will put it back together. Power. All right, that sounded good. Everything looks good. Let's just check our offset. Awesome, 17 millivolts. We can deal with that. Let's get this put back together. There we go. That stud is not going anywhere now. What do we got? What's it got? There you go. Let's get our last repair that we've got time for today opened up.
I'm having trouble connecting to the... I'm having trouble...
All right, Michael checks out. Put that away. And this one is Ben. And this is our last repair for the day. They've also got no power. So let's check our symptoms. And yep. No response and 4 to 6 watts of power draw. You know the drill. 174.6K again. And it's a dead diode. Oh, we got base and 16, 15. Give me 15. 15, hey, that'll work. Anything below 50 is really all we need to see. So this one's ready to get put back together, and then we'll be all done for the day. If you're still watching, and you've been watching the whole time, then, damn. Good on ya. Ooh, Harry Potter. I should read one day. No, that's unfortunately a good point. I guess I could read it to the kid. I've got plenty of time with the kid. Oh, we got some good books for her when she's when we start reading to her. We got the classics. We got The Very Hungry Caterpillar. We got The Rainbow Fish. Oh, actually, we found The Hungry Caterpillar Encyclopedia. It's like a science encyclopedia with like a whole bunch of Hungry Caterpillar-esque style art. I loved my nerdy encyclopedias as a kid. Oh yeah, The Verge reached out to me again, and they let me know that they haven't published their episode where they were talking about right to repair, and they were interviewing me yet. But they reached out to me again, and they were asking when they can do a follow-up interview with me to also talk about my thoughts with the new HomePod. I think I'm going to be talking to them this Friday, and maybe we'll see an episode from them coming out here. I don't know when, but seems like it's going to be soon. So I will keep you guys posted on that. I know it's been a while since we had the original Verge interview, but it sounds like they were still working on putting that together. And then the new HomePod came out, so that kind of that kind of messed with a lot of their plans. Oh, actually, we need that. There's like a green mark on the side of this. And I'm pretty sure it was there when they sent it in, but I'm going to clean it off here really quick since that's going to be really easy. And there you go. Now it's completely gone. They probably won't even notice that it was cleaned up because it's gone. Let's see if it works. There you go.
I'm having trouble connecting to the...
All right. Ben checks out and he is ready to go back home. With that, we have got everything that we've got time for today fixed up and ready to go. If you have any questions on any of the repairs you saw here today or in general, feel free to leave a comment down below. I also suggest checking out the website, nixfix.com, where I've got sections for common issues and how you can repair them, and my contact info so you can reach out to me and send your HomePod in, either the whole thing or bits and pieces, and we'll get it fixed up for you here on the stream. Hope you all, nerds and turds, enjoyed this repair stream.